Hello everyone, welcome back. Let's understand the local environment and environment in this session. So when talking about the local environment, first to go through the definitions and then we are going to again do some coding thing and let I am going to explain the thing. Okay. So this is the part of message tree you where you can store information while message processing through the message flow. So message tree is a tree where we can store some information. Okay. That's the first thing point. For some of the input node, it contains some information related to the node. In addition, we can also store some information in the tree which is available only to immediate next node in the message flow. In SQL, the syntax for the local environment is predefined and which user has to make the use in order to access the environment tree, access this environment tree. Okay. So in local environment the one point is more important. Okay, environment tree is used to store information, store message, stores some information. Okay, which is available to only to immediate next node in the message flow. Okay, so if you are storing some information in the message tree in the local environment tree, so it will be not available throughout the message flow. Okay, so it will be only available to immediate next node. First point you need to keep remember. Okay. Okay, value stored in the local environment tree is available to immediate next node, that I already explained here. Okay, about thing. Okay, again similar what we have learned here, that input root is used to fetch value from the message tree and output root is used to send value to the output root. Okay, just to the message tree. Similarly here we have the input local environment and output local environment. Input local environment is used to access the information from the local environment tree. Similarly output local environment is used to send some information to the local environment tree. Okay, so that's the thing about the local environment tree. Okay, so if I will again give you a brief, local environment tree is a tree that is a part of logical tree, and we use local environment to store some information that basically available to the immediate next node. So if you are storing some information in local environment tree, it will not available throughout the message flow, it only available immediate next node. If you want to fetch some information, again you have to use from the local environment tree, then you have to use the input local environment tree. If you want to set some information to the to the local environment tree, then you have to use the output local environment tree. Okay, so let's take an example of to explain this thing. Okay, currently if you see here, what I am doing, I am just sending message to this queue. Okay, and I'm just taking I'm just sending message to this queue, and this message with the help of compute node we are getting this message to this queue, right? So we are sending message to input queue, source input queue, and we are getting the message to this queue. Suppose what will happen if, okay, if there are more, we want, source wants to send this message to the more than one destination, then how we can exchange, how can we achieve like that? Suppose source is, let me just copy it right to this notepad. Okay, source is sending this message, okay, to this queue, and they want this message to the more than one destination, like that. Let me just do like that here. Okay, this one, this two, this three. Okay, so let me make it like that, this two and this three. Okay, so we are basically sending message to this queue, and we are expecting this message to all three queue. But here we have the only one option, right? Here we have the only one option. We cannot select, we cannot write more than one queue, right? So this is only valid, this is only valid when the output destination is only one. So now how can we achieve this? Can be achieved using the local environment tree. Okay, so let's see how we can achieve this one. Okay, so for that, let's first create the queue, the queue that actually we are going to set. Second, let's create the queue. So just keep the dash 2 and just click on finish. And similarly, let's create the another queue, that dash 3, destination 3, and just click on finish. So what is the motive of this lecture? The motive of lecture is we are sending message to this queue, and we are expecting the one copy to all three queue. Okay, so we are sending message to this queue, and we are expecting the message to be available to this three queue. Currently, if I will send the message, if I will text some message, if I will send some message, let me again send the message to show you. So because currently we are not following this pattern, so if I will be sending this message, let me just select the queue. Okay, and select the message. Okay, so if I will sending this message, right queue. Okay, so it is just, you can see I just write the message, and if I will be getting this output queue. Okay, you can see we are just getting the status failed according to code logic into this only queue. But if you see here, if I will browse the, you can see currently I am getting the message to this queue. But again, this failure information I want to flow to this all three thing. Okay, so how we can achieve this thing? Okay, so for that we need to set the this queue value into the local environment tree. Okay, so if you set the value of this queue to the local environment, then it is going to work. So let's, how can we do that? So this is the syntax we can use in the our coding thing to set the value of the queue. Okay, so let's go inside the compute node and set the value. Okay, so if I have gone to this compute node, okay, and I can do after this or before this, it doesn't matter. Okay, just set the value to the local environment. Okay, so currently I have the three queues, so I will be just writing destination 1, destination 2, and destination 3, because I have the three queue. And here you have to write the queue name where I want to send the message. Okay, so first queue name is, what is the queue name? Is that this one? Let me just copy and I will write to the other things. Okay, so okay, just 1 minute. Okay, this is the queue name, first queue name. This is the second queue where I want to send the message, that is the dash 2, and the third queue name is the, this is the third queue name, that is the dash 3. Okay, so this is the three queue we want to send a message, right? But you can see here we are getting the error. What error we are getting? Let's see here. Error is saying that, okay, what is the error? What is the error? Set output local environment destination. Okay, I will see that error. Don't worry. Before that, let me explain the things, few things. Okay. Now this is the syntax that we are going to. Okay, what is happening? Okay, not sure of why this by default code came here. I have not written here, but still it is coming. I don't need this one. Okay. Why this is coming two times? Create compute mode. Okay. I don't need write this one. Let me first in the create procedure, create this int. Okay. And again I want to in this clip. Not sure why this two time the compute module came here. Okay, the broker schema, create compute module, then end module, then creating the function, then ending the function, then return true. Okay, now that's fine. Before that, let me tell you. So this is the coding thing. Okay, so what I am doing, just I am sending the I am setting some value to the local environment under destination, under MQ, under destination data. I'm just, this is the first queue because this is the actual the array we are sending the many we are sending this information to the many place. So that's the reason we are making in form of array. This is the first array, this is second array, this is the third array, like that thing. So we are in the first destination we are sending value to this first queue name. In second destination we are setting value to the second destination name, and the third destination we are setting value to the third destination name. Apart from that, few changes also we need to make. First change is that in MQ output we have the different options we have to made a change. Okay, if you go to the MQ connections, you can see here, not MQ connection, it is, if you go to advanced tab, if you see here there are the three options. In destination mode we have the queue name, we have the destination list, and we have the replay to queue. So if you want to send a message to only one queue, then you have to select the queue name, and it will, information will flow to whatever the queue name you set here. Okay, but if you select the destination list, so it will send a message to the all the queue that, why this is coming again. Anyway, leave this by default. Not sure why this is coming again. I'm not writing this code, but still it is coming. Anyway, let's ignore the thing. Okay. 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 So what is happening? So I'm just whatever you can see destination list is there. Okay, destination data, there are the list of destination. Okay, right? So it will follow the information whatever the destination, whatever the queue that you have set in the local environment. This queue, this queue, this all three queue, it will be going to the follow the all the list of the queue that you are going to set in the destination. Okay, so if you select the destination list, it will going to the send the information to the queue name that we set into the output local environment tree. Okay, if you select the queue name, it will send the message whatever you set in this property. If you select the queue name as a destination list, it will send the message to the all the list of the queue that you set in the output to local environment. If you select the replay to queue, then it will be going to send the to the queue name to the it is going to send the message to the queue that you set into the properties of MQMD of the message to in replay to queue. So you already, if you remember, I told you the replay to queue there is a present into MQMD. So if you want to, if there are some queue information available into replay to queue, then message is going to the flow to the that replay to queue. Okay. So let's select the first destination list and click on save. Okay. Apart from that, you have to do one thing. If you see the compute node, in the compute node we have the, in the compute mode we have the many options available, that is message, local environment and message, exception handle and message, and exception and local environment and all. Okay, so if you are only working with the input message, if you are only working with the input message, then we can select the message. But currently if you see we are using the input route. Not sure what wrong happening with this flow. Every time it is coming something new flow is getting created. Let's ignore the thing. Okay, I will again recreate this flow. There is some issue happening with this flow. Okay, so let me cross this flow and reopen it. Okay. There is some problem happening. Okay, so I will be, then you have to select here as a, if here you can see if I am using the, I am using the local environment tree also, and I am using the uh, Now I'm using the input route and output route. Input route and output route is used for the message tree, and local environment tree is used for the local environment tree, right? Local environment tree. Okay. So we are using the two things here. But currently in the compute mode, we have selected a message. So this is not going to process the message. So we have to select here the local environment and message, or either you can select as a all. Okay. If you select all, then it will valid for the all the tree, like that, the local environment, exception list, everything, it is valid. Okay. All four tree it is valid. But if you select here, then it is going to valid for the only two trees. Okay. There is error happening, not sure what is error happening. I want to do everything from scratch because not sure what problem is happening here. Let's This flow having some problem is happening. Let me create a new flow. Okay. Even I am not getting why this is happening, problem is happening. Let's create another flow, test app 2. Okay. Test app 1. Let me create this one. I will copy the code from that one, and again I will be going to delete the thing. Okay. MQ based flow. Okay, just do something right like that. Home dot mq node flow. Just click on finish. Just use the mq thing, and let me use the mq output, and let me use the compute node. In the transformation. Okay. And in compute node, let me connect this to the compute node. Again, let me connect this to this output. Okay. And let me modify this one, and again let me open this flow also, and let me copy the code from here, and I will be going to delete this flow. Okay. Not sure what wrong is happening with this flow. Yet I have copied this thing, and let me paste this to here. Okay. Let me delete the default code, and this is also default thing, and let me just write here. Okay. And just cross this thing, and let me delete this app. Delete this application. I don't want to keep this application. I will be seeing why this error is happening. Don't worry. Don't save. Okay, so I have deleted the first application. Now let's see this application, and let's see if still same thing is happening. Okay. I'm not sure still same thing is happening. Okay, don't worry. Okay, I got the thing why error was happening. The error was happening because the one thing you need to keep in mind. Suppose, let me told you. Okay. Suppose let's consider this. Suppose currently if I am going to use this one, that also not came to my mind. Okay. If I will be using this thing, output route here, and suppose if condition is satisfying here and it is sending some output. Okay. Okay. Not sure. Let's use this thing again. Okay. Okay, let's see, this time error is not coming. Okay. And not sure, maybe I have writing this earlier some syntax that is not correct. There will be some written mistake. So let's use this thing again, because if you make a minor mistake, it will be going to give error. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, so let me write the queue name again. Okay, I need to do extra effort, but I can do for you. That's not a big deal. These all are the some counter if what I said, you can the live troubleshooting things. Okay, so This all thing, lots of thing you are going to learn. Okay, so this will be going to give you a boring thing, but you need to keep in mind that this thing also you are going to learn a lot. Okay, so don't worry if you are, you can see, let me select the queue name here also, that is the input queue name, that is the this queue name, and let me again summarize the flow and let me deploy the solution. Okay, so just me summarize the flow and let me again select the input parsing as a XML and SE, and let me again add some breakpoint to show you. Okay, and okay, that's the flow is ready. So what, let me again go in MQ input. I am just selecting the queue name where we are going to send the message, that is the source test in. Okay, in the input message parsing, I am selecting the message format I want to parse the message in. Let's select the in parsing option as a collect, so that if in case of any failure is happening in parsing, that we can see. In compute mode, we are selecting as a local environment and message. The reason is behind that currently we are using the input root and output root as a message tree, and output local environment as a local environment tree. So we are using the both tree. If you are using the other tree also like that, the environment tree and what is that exception history, then you have to select the other options also. You can see there is options to opt the message, or either you can select as a all. Okay, if you select as a all, it will be going to work for all tree, that is message tree, local environment tree and exception history. Okay, currently I am working with these two trees, so I have selected these two tree. Okay, what I am doing earlier, whatever the code I have written, if else condition, the same thing code is there, and I am sending this to these three destination, that is this test out 1, this 2, this 3. Okay, and this all based on the whatever the we have written in the advanced property. If I will select the queue name, then it will flow the information to the queue name that we have written here. Currently I have not written anything. It will, message will flow to this queue. If I will select the uh, destination list, it will send the message to the list of the queue that we are setting to the output local environment tree. And if I will select the message here as a replay to queue, so it will send the message to the queue name that we specify into the replay to queue into mqmt properties of the message. Okay, so let's select the destination list here. Now my flow is ready. Let's try to deploy the flow. Okay, and let's see what is coming. Okay, before that, let's delete the test application because this is currently not required for me. So let's delete the application, test application, and I am going to deploy the test app one. Okay, let's create the bar file also, because best approach is to create the bar file. I just follow this thing. Okay, so just create the test app one and just click on finish. So I just select the application and just click on build and save. So I just clicked and build and saved. Okay, now my bar file is ready, and just click on deploy this bar file. So let's click on deploy. So my bar file has been deployed successfully. Now you can see the test app is showing here. Now let's launch the debugger. Also let's open the flow to see what to add. Already breakpoint is added, so okay, debugger is launched also. Let's send the message and see what is coming to output. Okay, let's first pass this message to this queue, output queue. Let's select the message. This time again I'm browsing the queue. I'm just selecting the input message. I'm sending a message which is of the marks 39, so it will be giving the failure. So just click on write. Now it came to the debugger. Just switch the debugger. You can see what I'm sending here. I'm sending the understand that I'm sending the this information. It will go to the compute node. It will just check whether the marks is less than or greater than or equal to 40. So it is not greater than or equal to 40, so it will go to the else condition. In else condition, it is what it is happening, it is sending this to output. In output under result under status, it is setting the value to the fail. Just if you see here again, you can see in output it is setting the value to the result as a failure. Okay, so this is the value that we are going to see in the output. Okay, so after that we are going to run the local environment, this all what are the queue we are setting here. What I am doing here, this is syntax. You need to remember that you don't have any other options. Okay, so in the output local environment tree, under destination, under mq, under destinations, under the queue, we are setting this queue value, and this queue value we are going to send a message. So if you see here under the local, under output local environment tree, currently there is nothing is showing, right? There is no tree created here. Okay, but if I will run this, it is going to create. Just let me go through. Okay, you can see one line of code has been executed. If you see here under output local environment tree, under destination, under mq, under destination data, under queue name, you can see here, right? Similarly, if I will again execute the second line again, you can see again under destination, under mq, there are two destination data, right? Destination data 1, destination data 2. So again under destination data 2, you can see the another queue name, right? Similarly, if I will execute this line also, it is going to create another destination data for me, because this will be the first destination data. Under third destination data, I am going to see the third queue name. Okay, now it return to will send a message to the output. In output we have set the property as destination lead, so it will send a message to all three queue, and you can see from here mq, all three message will, you can see one message has reached to the all three queue. We can see from the rfh util also. Let's me show it using the rfh util. If I will just select the queue name, let me load the queue name again. Okay, so you can see if I will select the first queue, if I will browse the queue, you can see this as a failure result came here. If I will do again the test out, and if I will again browse the mass queue, then you can see that this as a failure came here in the second queue also. In the third queue, if you see again the you can see the same failure result has came over here. So we can see the in the all three, whatever the message we sent here, it is one copy has reached to all three queue, and that's all based on the whatever the written in the destination list. Okay, in the local environment tree. So this is how the local environment tree works. Okay, but so this is the small flow, right? If the flow is larger, suppose if you are using the local if you are using some many connectors like that, five connectors, so right, if I will set some value to local environment tree here, this will be not going to available throughout the flow. Okay, that's the main disadvantage of local environment tree. It will available to immediate next node only. Okay, to that thing can be overcome using the environment tree. So environment tree, whatever the information you are going to set under the environment tree, that will be available throughout the flow. Okay, so that's, let's go into next into the environment tree. Okay, so if I will be telling you environment tree, let's go to first definitions. Okay, so this is the part of the message tree where you can store the information while message processing through the message flow. So environment tree, we can also store some information, and the information stored in the environment tree is available throughout the message flow. It will be available throughout the message flow, and if you have stored anything in environment tree, you can access it in any of the node using the message flow, and value stored in it can be used throughout the message flow and can be accessed from anywhere in the flow. So we can say that a single instance of environment tree is maintained throughout the flow, and there is no input and output concept. We can set environment tree and access environment tree using the environment tree. Okay, so similarly what it is written here, if you in local environment tree, we have seen that whatever information we are setting in the local environment tree, it is not available throughout the tree. It is available only to immediate next node. But environment tree, whatever information you are setting in the environment tree, it will be available throughout the message flow. So if you will be, suppose there will be a, currently here is a three connectors, currently here is a three connectors. Let's suppose there are more connectors also. Let me just put some more connectors. Okay, so I will be just using two more compute node. Let's use it one. Okay, so let me just remove this thing. Okay, and let me just use more connectors also. Okay, so let me use one more compute node here. Okay, just let me get this thing and let me try to what is wrong happening. Okay, I have connected this thing again. Let me connect again to compute node and next compute node. I'm just making them bigger flows so to explain you. Okay, again let me connect this to the this one to this. So my flow is like that. Let me again, wrong connection is making. Okay, still it not make. Okay, so let me again make it line up. So flow is like that. Okay, so flow is like that. Okay, so it is like that. Okay, so if I will do add a breakpoint here, I will also add a breakpoint. Let add breakpoint also. So I have added breakpoint. Okay, so let me again, if I will save, it will give error, but let me remove the errors. I'm not what I'm going to do, just will uncomment this one and will just whatever the coming to input, I'm just going to process. So that's reason let uncomment this thing. Okay, all information. If you uncomment this thing, this is basically what you're doing. It is just copying the entire header and this is coming to entire message. Okay, so that's the thing happening. Okay, so that's the flow has been ready. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me just comment this one. So there are two type of comment. Let me also explain this thing, how you can comment the SQL things. If you want to comment a particular one line, suppose I have written something here. Suppose I have written this is used for local. This is used for setting queue to many destination. Okay, so if I want to comment this one line, so you have to just click on double like that, double this thing, so it will basically comment a one line. Similarly, if I want to comment this line again, only this lines, and I will just do dot, it will comment this thing. Okay, but if I want to comment a paragraph, something like that, how can we comment a paragraph? Because this is something not a one line, this is just a so we can comment a whole paragraph, because this is not a one line, this is a paragraph. Okay, so if you want to comment this one, so there is like a slash, a star, and where you want to end the, then you have to use a star and slash, so it will comment this whole thing. So whatever the thing comment, you have to do slash a star with a starting thing and a star slash with ending thing. This will basically comment the whole thing. Okay, now let's do some more around the local environment tree. Suppose I want to set some value to in the local environment tree like that. Suppose set output local environment dot variable, and under variable I want to set some value to, but suppose my name, right, Trishruti Tiwari. Okay, okay, and let's see whether this information, okay, is still giving error because I am not writing here colon. Okay, so I am just only setting the value to the local environment tree, that is Jisuti Tiwari. Okay, and let's say the set the also environment tree, and let's see what is the behavior happening. Okay, to set the environment tree again, because in for the local environment tree, what we are using for local environment tree, we are, if you want to access some information, we are using the input local environment, and if you want to set some information, we are using the output local environment. But for the environment tree, if you want to access some information from the environment tree, then you have to use the environment tree itself. If you want to set some information from the environment tree, then you have to use the environment tree. Yes, so there is a both condition, both is valid for the environment tree. Okay, if you want to access some information from the environment tree, then you have to use the environment tree, Then if you want to set some information into environment tree, then you have to use the environment tree. We don't have the input and output concept for the environment tree. Okay, so let's use the environment tree, because currently I want to set some information to environment tree, right? So set environment on, let me keep a variable name as a same variable. Okay, and variable name I will just writing my name again, Risutiwari, and let's see what is happening this time. Okay, and these are actually I'm using because this is the character, so a character unit should be included with this thing. Okay, okay, so let's see what is behavior happening with the output local environment and the environment tree. What is the, okay, so let's deploy the solution. Let's see. So again, let me save the bar file and let me deploy the solution. And debugger is already launched. Let me test, send the message and test it. Okay, so let me just put message, open, select, and just write q. Okay, I just sent the message, debugger is launched. Now let's see. Currently if you see under the local environment tree, nothing is showing, and the environment tree nothing is showing. Okay, let's go inside the compute node. This command run failure value set into output. Now you can see here we are going to set into the under variable, we are going to set the value as a Risutiwari. Okay, so we have set the value to local, we have set the value to the, you can see we have set the value to the output local environment. Under variable we have set value to Risutiwari. Okay, now under environment tree again we have set the value a variable as a Risutiwari. So what we have did in output, you can see it is same thing, result as a failure which is coming because of the this coding thing. Okay, because of this line we are setting the value to the variable as a Risutiwari in the output local environment. You can see the output local environment Risutiwari is coming. Okay, in the environment tree we are setting a variable to a local environment. So this variable is as per the definition, this variable whatever the value you set into the local environment tree, this will be available, not be available throughout the message flow, but this will be available throughout the message flow. So we have the lots of connector, we will be going to explore the each connector, we are going to see whether the local environment tree value is going to stay or not. Okay, so let's use and let's see that. Okay, let's again switch back to debug mode. Okay, already with debug. Okay, now let's move forward. Okay, so now it came here and you can see currently still, because it basically available to immediate next node. In immediate next node you can see local environment value is available and this is also available. Okay, right, both is available. Now let's move forward. Okay, here it is also available. Okay, here it is also available. Okay, but you can see now local environment tree is deleted but still variable is available, right? That's the thing. So if local environment tree value does not stay over throughout the message flow, but environment tree value stay throughout the message flow. It only ends once the message flow completion ends. If I will ends the message flow completion, then it is going to end it. Okay, so that's the thing. So local environment tree, whatever the value set in the local environment tree, it is not going to stay throughout the message flow, but whatever the value we set under the environment tree, it will be available until the flow got terminated. Okay, until the flow got terminated it will be going to available. Okay, so that's the difference between environment tree. The what is the use of environment tree? Mainly we use the information. Suppose I want to set some variable, so we can use the environment tree to set some variable into environment tree, or later we can use that variables. That's the benefit of using the environment tree. Okay, so that's the difference between environment tree and the local environment tree. I have already shown you in debug mode. That's the more detailing about thing. So we have seen the how the environment tree basically helpful. Okay, right? That is called the environment tree. Okay, now let's understand the last tree. Last tree, that is the exception list tree, right? The last tree is the exception list tree. Exception list tree is the tree that we don't have any control. It automatically populates if in case of any error is happening. In case of some error happen, it automatically populates. Okay, so if I will go to again definitions. Okay, if any node present in the message flow fail to process the message due to some reason, then the tree is populated and containing the information which explain what error that is occurred. Okay, this tree is populated in case of exception. We have no control over the tree, that I have explained told you. That is, we cannot modify the tree, and this is automatically populated in case of exception. Okay, so again, this is the tree populated automatically and we don't have any control over this tree. And in case of some exception happens, suppose there is some coding issue happen, or some there is some problem with the message flow, and so there is some parsing issue happen. In that case, what will happen? In that case, this tree is going to be populate and we are going to get a some error thing. Okay, okay, so and we are going to get the, and this tree will be populated. Okay, again similar to the other trees, we have the input exception list. If you want to access some information from the exception tree, again we have the output exception tree. So if you want to send some information to the exception list tree, so this thing you need to remember: the input exception list if you want to access some information from exception tree, and if you want to set some information to exception list tree, then you have to use the output exception tree. Okay, let's see by the live demonstration again. Let me first launch the debugger, because I have launched it launched from a long time. Maybe it creates the problem, so I just terminated the debugger. Okay, okay, now let's again design the flow to, because currently if you see there is a two terminal, the failure terminal and the cache terminal, right? and and it is not connected. So it is not connected means exception is not handled, and there is no, we have not used the concept of exception handling, right? So if we connect this terminal, then it means that exception is handled, and we can see, we are going to see the exception tree. Okay, so let's use this these both terminal, and let's understand the difference between the failure terminal and the cache terminal also. Okay, so if I will again going to use the one more compute node like that, let me use one more compute node to write some coding for the exception tree, and let me connect this terminal to this compute node. Again, let me use again mq output to send the exception to the output queue. So where is the mq thing? If you are getting problem, then you can just again same thing, right click here and add node like that, something like that you can do and select the thing. But if you are getting here, that's fine. Okay, just connect this thing. Again here I am using the exception history. So from message I will be selecting to the exception, or I will be selecting to all. So let's select the all here, because I am using the now exception tree, not only the message, I am using the exception tree also. Okay, so let's select the all, or either let's, you can select the exception tree or message tree, this thing, that will be also best, but let's select the all. Okay, let's remove the default code and let's do some coding for the exception handling. So you know the we use the output exception list for the setting some exception to the output tree, and input exception to access some information, right? Right. So let's use something like that. Let's set output route. I'm just sending the some information to the output queue, and I want to send the error information in form of XML, and I will be writing some like that exception AXCPTION. Anything you can write, AXCEPTION exception and error, something like that, errors. Okay, and I want to access the tree, so I will be using the input exception list. Okay, so let's use this thing, input exception list. Okay, so that's the whole coding for the exception handling. Okay, here it is giving the error. Let me just, okay, so what I am doing, I am just sending the what are the error happening into the exception list tree. I am just accessing the information from that. I am just creating a output route, and under the xml tag we have the error thing, and under error, whatever the error, whatever the exception coming, I'm just setting the value into the error. I'm just sending this to the output queue, and I'm going to see this information. Okay, so let's write some queue name here also. So what are the queue name I can write here? Let's me suppose, let's create the another queue. So better, for the better understanding, like that, app one dot error. Just click on finish and just use this queue here. Okay, so I just selected the queue name. So now in case now if in case of any error will happen, it is going to do, error is handled. Okay, so now the error will be going to show. Okay, so that's the flow. Okay, is ready. So what, let me again brief the exception handling. Exception handling will be going to only, exception tree is going to populate only if in case of some exception is happening, if in case of some problem is happening with the flow and message is not able to process to the output queue. To access some information from the exception tree, we are using to input exception list. To set some information to, or to send some information to exception list, we are using the output exception list. So here currently, previously the error was not handled, no error failure terminal and cache terminal are connected. So what I have did, I just connected this terminal to the compute node. In compute node, I just written one line code to handle some exception. What I am doing, I am just creating a output route, and I'm just I'm just this information collecting in form of XML, and there are some tag created like that exception. Under exception we have created the tag errors, and under that whatever the value, whatever the tree populated automatically populated under the exception tree, I'm just accessing the information with the help of input exception list, and I'm just setting the value under the errors. So under error, we are setting the value whatever the populated for the exception tree using the input exception list. Okay, and those all information again I am sending this to the this queue, that is the app1.error. Okay, so now my flow is ready. Let's try to deploy and see what is the behavior happening. Okay, currently I have the error in this flow. What is the error? You can see currently I have not setted here. I currently I have not setted this output local environment tree, but if you see here in the, I have selected as a destination list. Okay, so here I have selected a destination list, but currently there is no local environment tree set here, so it is going to throw error because here there is no here I have commented this local environment tree, but I am using here the destination list in the properties of the advanced tab. Okay, and no queue has been set here. Okay, in the basic. Okay, so this, once it is going to here, it is going to check whether the any queue is present. There is no queue is present, so it is going to give a error. Okay, so let's see how error is happening. So I have saved the flow. Let's deploy the flow again. So my flow has been deployed. Let's launch the debugger. Debugger has launched. So let's send the message to the input queue. So again, let's select this thing one. Let me just open this thing and just click on write. Debugger has launched. Let me switch to debug mode. Okay, message came here because it qualify the parsing criteria, because you can see I am sending the XML message, and in the property of the MQ input we have written as a XML, so it qualify the XML pattern. It goes to this queue and it run the all code thing. So I don't want to again see each line of code each, so let's switch to directly to the next node. It came here, it goes to another node. Till now there is no error happened to this flow. Okay, now it came here, still there is no error happen because it has not reached to output node. Now if I will go again next to write the message to this queue, the error is going to happen. Okay, so let's see what error is, because till now there is no error, neither error is in this queue, neither error is here, neither error is here, but there is error to this place, right? So because here if you see in that we have selecting destination list, but we are not sending anything into the local output local environment. So let's move forward. If I will move forward, you can see the error happen, and here you can see there is a red exclamation mark happen. And if you see in also the exception list generated here, here you can see there is a exception list generated here, and this is the error coming. If you see, if I will copy this into the notepad to show you, this is the error happening. If I will just show this to you, you can see this is the error, whole error coming, but this is not in the XML format. But we will be just doing them output to.xml to show the out. You can see what is it is saying. This if you see, you can see invalid destination list, because we are not sending any to information to destination list, but we are selecting destination list. That's the reason it is throwing the error. Okay, so this information again it came here. Now let's move forward, because if there will be no exception handled, this exception is not handled, if there is this all exception not handled, it will, the failure will be going to the dead letter queue. This DL queue it will be going to, you can see there is a 3 message. Okay, right, because of that this type of failure. But if we here we have handled some exception, right, here we have handled exception, so it will be going to this terminals. But there is a problem, which terminal it will be going, that will be a one confusion question, right? Because there are two terminals, failure terminals. One is the failure terminal, there is the cache terminal. So which terminal this is going to be flow, that's the one question came to a mind, right? So let's see which terminal it is going, right? So let's me again move forward. You can see which terminal it is going, it is going to cache terminal, right? It is not going to failure terminal. I will tell you why. I will tell you why. If anything error happening to this except the input the source node, then it will be going to the cache terminal. And if error is happening to here itself, then it will be going to failure terminal. That's the major difference between them. So let me again explain this thing in detail. Okay, suppose here let's take example. Here this compute node error happened. Okay, but here if you see there is no error handled, so it will again check to the previous node, is there any error is handled. If there is error handled here, so it will be handled, it's here itself. Okay, but still here is also no error handled, so it will again check to the previous node if there is error handled or not. If still there here error is no handled, so it will again go back and it will flow through the cache terminal. Okay, suppose here in this case what happened, here error is handled. If there you can see here is the failure terminal and here is the out terminal. If in case of this failure terminal was connected here, is connected, then what is going to happen, the error is going to flow through this error terminal, this error failure terminal, not it is going to this cache terminal. So if any failure is handled to that node itself, then if in case of failure is happening with that node, it will be going through the failure terminal. If error is not going it handled to that node, it is going to check to the previous node whether error is handled. If error is handled, it is going to the again to the uh, it is the error will be handled according to this node. Again it is going to check the previous node. If error is handled, if it is handled, then it is going to the error handling with this node. If error is handled here itself, then it is again going to the error handled according to this node. If no error handled till now, then again it will be going to this cache terminal. Okay, and again this error will going to follow to this output queue. Okay, so if itself error is happening here, then it will be following through the failure terminal. Same definition I have written here also. If I will tell you, I have written somewhere, let me tell you where I have written the definitions. You can see difference between the failure and the cache terminal. Failure terminal, if problem is happening with MQ input node and the message, okay, the message will be going to the failure terminal. If message is okay, but later if exception occur in the code issue, then it will be going to the cache terminal. But this is the basic definition I have written, but I have explained you the high level what is happening. Okay, so if let me tell you, if in case of error is happening with any node, not this node only, if in case of error is happening with any node, if exception is handled there, then it will flow through the failure terminal with that node. If exception is not handled, it will check the previous node whether exception is handled or not. If exception is handled with the previous node, then it will follow the exception thing with the follow the error. It will again propagate according to error handled to the previous node. Similarly, if there is no handle to the previous node, it will continuously check until to the first node. Again it will come to the first node and it will check. If still no error is handled, then it will be going to dead letter queue. If error is handled, then it will be going to the cache terminal. Okay, again if I will again move forward, let me just move forward. Okay, you can see it came here and the failure terminal, failure message going to the failure queue. Let me browse the failure queue to show you. Okay, so if I will go to the again app1.error, and you can see the error message came here, and same error message came into XML format right here. It is the invalid destination list. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me try to show you how message is going to fail to failure terminal. Right, currently if you know the currently in the MQ input we are setting the property as a parsing as a XML NSE. So if I will be sending a message in XML format, then this node is going to process, and if I will be sending some message into other format, this node is not going to follow the flow the message, right? So and error will happen to this node itself, and if error will happen to this node itself, so it will check whether the error is handled with this node or not. So error is handled with this node, so it will go to the failure terminal with this node. Okay, so let's try to send some message, text message, and let's see what is happening. Okay, so let me use the MQ Explorer itself and let me put some text message. Okay, that is not XML, so I will just write some random message and just click on put text message. Okay, I just sent the message and you can see, just switch to debug mode, you can see it is going to the failure terminal, right? It is not going to cache, because what happened, I have just sent the text message and this text message is not the XML message. So MQ input node only can parse the message with the XML format, so it cannot parse the message other than the XML message. But the message we are sending is the text message, so it basically creates the parsing issue. And again you can see that here exception tree has been generated with the error region. You can see this is the error region, invalid XML character is the error region that basically was found in the document. Okay, so we are not sending the proper XML character, that's the error showing in the exception list. So this tree automatically generates in case of some error is handled, and it is going to the cache terminal if in case of error has not handled here. Okay, and if the node itself error is handled, it will be going to the failure terminal with this node. Now if I will go further forward, you can see if I will be again going to the, let me see what is going to the error queue. If I will again browsing this error queue, you can see same error has an invalid XML character. It came to the this output error queue, right? App1.error. Okay, so if I will again summarize the thing, between the failure terminal and the cache terminal. I already explained you in detail, but if I want to summarize the thing. If in case of error is handled with the node where the issue is happening, the message will flow through the failure terminal. If the error is not handled with this node, then it will check to the previous node whether error is handled. For this case here there is no error is handled, so it will basically check the previous node that error is handled or not, and error is handled or not. And if still error is not handled here, then it is going to be, at last it is going to came here and it will be following through the cache terminal. Okay, let's try to one more modification. Currently let me connect here. You can see there is out terminal and there is failure. Let's connect this failure terminal to here. Okay, and let's see what is the behavior happening now. Okay, whether the issue, whether the message is again coming back and following through the cache terminal, or whether it is following through this terminal. Okay, let's see how the behavior is happening. Okay, so let me again, we need to deploy the solution, right? So again let me again build and save the bar file, and let me again deploy the solution. So, and let's see what is the behavior happening. This time what is happening, I have handled here, I have handled a error to the node that where the failure is happening itself. Okay, so what should happen, the message should happen, the message to the flow should flow to this error, through this error failure terminal, not through this cache terminal. So let me send the message. Okay, so let me again select this queue and let me open the message, and let me select the message and let me write the to the queue. I just send the message to the queue. Message came here. Till now there is no error happen. So let me move forward. Here till here no error. Till here no error. Till here no error. But after that error is going to happen. And here once, because here we have said send as a destination list, and but we are not sending any queue information to output local environment. So here error will be going to happen, and if this line will be not going to connect, then again it is going to check previous node whether error is handled or not. Till here there is no error handled, no error handled, so it will came to again mq input and it will flow through the cache terminal. But here we have handled to this node itself, I have handled the error. So what is going to happen, it is not going to come back, and it is going to, it is following through the its failure terminal itself. So let's see. Okay, so now you can see it is following through the failure terminal. Exception tree has been generated, exception list has been generated, you can see, but it is not going back and it is not going to flowing through the cache terminal. It is following through the failure terminal of that node. You can see it is following through the failure terminal of that node itself. It is not coming back, and it is following through the it is following through the terminal of the failure that we connected to the node that which is creating the problem. Okay, now just you can see, now you are going to see the same error in the error queue. Let's browse the error queue and let's see the message. There are two messages. Let me just clear the first message and let me browse the latest message. Now you can see this is coming here. Currently we are seeing the only message. Not sure why we are setting the message, but because currently we are seeing the message only because here we're not handling the only error, right? Here we are not doing some coding thing, right? Okay, but if I will do like that, let me just do more modification. We are going to see here, because I have not written here like that something. If I will do like that, if I will just collecting this thing to this, right? Okay, now it will be going to, error will be going to handled, okay, properly. So if I will be again generating this bar file, and again if I will be deploying this solution, the proper error handle will be showing to this queue. Okay, now let's send the message. Let's clear the message into error queue. Let's select the input queue. Let's select the file and let's write the message to the queue. I just written a message to the queue. Switch to the debug perspective. Just move forward, move forward, move forward. till here no error happened. Now it came to this input queue. This input queue has set in valid destination list because there is no destination list set in the compute node, and we are setting this property in destination list, so error will be going to happen. Currently we have handled the error in the this node itself, so it is not going back to check the error handle. uh, it is not going back to check the error handling because the error is handled to node itself. If error is handled to node itself, then error will be following to the failure terminal. You can see that this is the failure terminal, right? So if error is handled to node itself, and if in case of issue is happening with that node, the message will be going to failure through the pass through the failure terminal. And if error is not handled with that node, it will be going to check the previous node whether error is handled. And if still no error is handled, it will be going to come back to the to this node, and it will be following through the cache terminal. Okay, so here we have handled the error. So let's move forward. You can see it came here. Now it will be again going to compute node because I have connected to compute node. Now it came here again, and you can see. Now let's see whole error message is going to see in the error queue this time. So let's browse this queue. Now you can see same error message in valid destination it is going to see. Okay, so this is how we can explore the thing in the IBM ACE. Okay, so we have what we have seen. Let me again just I will take a 2 minute to consolidate the thing. We have seen how what is the logical tree, what is the message tree, what is the local environment tree, what is the exception list tree, and what is the environment tree. Okay, in local environment, in the message tree we have seen message tree basically consists of the three part, that is the properties, MQMD, and the main message payload, that is the domain. Okay, if you want to access some information from the message tree, then we have to use the input route. If you want to set some information to, then we have to use the output route. Okay, and okay, similarly we have the local environment tree. Local environment tree, whatever information set in local environment tree, which is not going to available throughout the message flow. If you want to access some information from local environment tree, then you have to use the input local environment. If you want to set some information to the local environment tree, then you have to use the output local environment. Okay, similarly we have the environment tree. If you want to set some information into local environment tree, which will be available throughout the message flow, and it will be going to end when the message flow is going to complete, then you can use the environment tree. And if you want to access some information from the environment tree, then you can use the environment itself. And if you want to set some environment into environment tree, then you can use the environment itself. Okay, similarly we have the exception list tree. This tree is populates automatically if in case of some error happening with the message flow while while it is running. Okay, and this, if you want to access some information from the exception list tree, then you can use the input exception list tree. And if you want to see set some information to the exception list tree, then you can use the output exception list tree. Again, if there are the two things, the failure terminal and the cache terminal. If the error is happening to node itself and there is no error handled, then the message will be going to check to the previous node whether error is handled or not. And if still error is not handled, then it will be going to follow through the cache terminal with the MQ input node. If their error is handled to node itself, then it is going to the failure pass through the failure node of that node. Okay, failure terminal with this with that node. Okay, that's all about the whole logical tree in IBM ACE, that is the message tree, local environment tree, and exception list tree. And I hope you have enjoyed the lesson and lecture in detail. And this is more detail about the IBM ACE lecture series. So we will make, if you again have any doubt, any confusion, you can reach out to me, and we will meet again with the next lecture. Thank you all.